Yes, my name is AnthonyWarrior. I was born in Pawnee, Oklahoma, and it was 1976. Currently, right now, I'm a HR director for the Nebraska Indian Community College. I also run my own consultation business with food sovereignty projects. 2019, I did decide to come back and kind of brave the educational journey again. So that's kind of what I was doing. And my typical day at the time was I had just left a major casino as a chef, and I was trying to make my way back into casinos in another state, and I got kind of pulled back towards the family ways. My wife and myself, we were married for a year, and then we ended up having our first child. And taking a step out of the casino was a big change from being the workaholic, then concentrating on a new daughter, which I barely saw. I barely saw her for the first year of her life, and kind of came to a standstill, self-realization that that's what she needed, for that developmental years. So the staying point was seeing that my mother had, she aged, and seeing some of the struggles of maintaining daily life on a farm, and just kind of being asked if it would be any option for me to kind of stay around with my family. And I knew her intentions also was to keep my wife and child grounded while I was trying to rule the world. And so she did a very fantastic job of painting a picture of really needing my help. And then I did get talked into from my very loving wife that you're too smart not to have a degree, and so looking back into the educational process was just another reason for me to kind of keep my feet grounded so that I could have something to show my child at the time, So right before that, really saying we're going to be heading to Washington State to go interview for a chef position. And I had already been informed to come up there and to do it, and I just needed to set the date. So that couple weeks of really sitting still, I was ready to jump and just go, even if my wife and child was going to stay there with my mother while I went and did this adventure. And then right at that, probably about the 1 month period, my wife revealed to me that during the year that I was working with the child, of us just being married and bringing a child up and me leaving before she's awake and coming home when she was already asleep, she revealed to me that, she thought about leaving me within that time. And that's another mark where you say, I'm not going to fail because that's not what I do. So that would have been one of the most dramatic turning points for me during that time of figuring out what I needed to do. There are people who care for you, and they're constantly worried about you. And then looking over at your 1-year-old daughter and saying, listen, you've got to make more time for this person. You've got to be there because you don't need to be the absent father. And the other part about being kind of cooped was staying busy. I had to constantly, and it drove him crazy because I just, I won't say picking fights, but just picking at somebody. Why is this here? Why is that there? And how come this is over here? Why are we disorganized? Why do we got so much stuff? And my mother kept saying, you leave them alone. You leave us alone. I'd go downstairs and go, just breathe. But on the other side, one thing that keeps me sane in today's world is I actually do catering. I still cater quite a bit. That's my passion. That's my drive. The HR work is the psychological side. That's the part that I value, and being have that self-worth. But if honestly, if I had to quit catering, cold turkey, I'd probably be having the twitches, and my family would be probably more miserable with me around. And I'm still a workaholic, but I'm learning that balance a lot better than when I did. And honestly, every time I used to cater, it was for my own glory. It was for my worth. But now, every time I pick up a gig, I'm excited to do it because that adds to my family.
Support for Facing a Changed World an oral history of the COVID-19 pandemic, comes from the Margaret Ann Martin Everest Foundation, the Kind World Foundation, Humanities Iowa, the Friends of Siouxland Public Media, and listeners like you.